So good day everyone. We are the group 1 and we will discuss the lesson 21 of the Gender and Society, which is the understanding sexual harassment. Before we proceed to the lesson proper, let me introduce to you the group 1 members. And at the end of the lesson, you are expected to understand fully various theoretical perspectives on sexual harassment, distinguish the various theoretical perspectives on sexual harassment from each other, and understand the laws of the Philippines of sexual harassment in the academe and in the workplace. So defining the sexual harassment. Sexual harassment is an act or a series of acts involving any unwelcome sexual advance, request, or demand for a sexual behavior or other verbal or physical behavior of a sexual nature, committed by a government employee or official in a work-related, training, or educational-related environment. And we should highlight that sexual harassment is an act involving any unwelcome sexual advance, request, or demand for a sexual behavior. For example, flirting, gesturing, or making sexual remarks about someone's body, clothing or appearance, asking questions about someone's sex life, telling sexually offensive jokes, making sexual comments or jokes about someone's sexual orientation or gender reassignment. According to the study of Nomuser, Henning, and Laulum in 2012, harassment and sexual harassment are recognized as a form of discrimination on the grounds of sex and thus are contrary to the principle of equal treatment between men and women. Like any other crime, sexual harassment is all about power, control, and domination, and the International Labor Organization in 2001 defines sexual harassment as a sex-based behavior that is unwelcome and offensive to the recipient. Thus, sexual harassment is not merely a problem of safety and health and unacceptable working conditions, but is also a form of violence primarily against women. And in the Philippines, we have the Republic Act number 7877, which is known as the Anti-Sexual Harassment Act of 1995, defines work, education, or training-related sexual harassment is committed by a person who having authority, influence, or moral ascendancy over another in a work or training or education environment. Demands requests for any sexual favor is accepted by the object of the said act. And to understand better the sexual harassment, next topic, which is the theoretical perspectives of sexual harassment, will be discussed by Febicate Zambas.
So the next topic is about theoretical perspectives of sexual harassment. So before we will proceed to the theoretical perspectives of sexual harassment, let us understand what is theoretical perspective is. So theoretical perspective means that there are a set of assumptions about a reality, and sexual harassment is a reality. There are a lot of people asking about sexual harassment to men and women, and researchers are trying to find information and answers for this. So sexual harassment cannot be understood from perspective a single theory. Yes, it cannot be explain by just a single theory why sexual harassment occurs, but it's always a combination of different predictors. Previous research have looked at sexual harassment using a number of frameworks, including organizational approach, feminist theory, role theory, and attributional models of sexual harassment. So, however, all these models share common basic assumptions and can be labeled as social-cultural models of sexual harassment. So, sexual harassment is considered as a social-cultural topic because it involves the social and cultural aspect. So, there have been 5 widely accepted theories of sexual harassment that attempt to explain the phenomenon from different angles and perspectives. So let's find out. So first theoretical perspective is about natural or biological theory. According to this theory, men have stronger sex drives and therefore biologically motivated to engage in sexual pursuit of women. So according to this theory, since men have stronger sex drive, then therefore it is normal for them to pursue women. Thus, the harassing behavior is not meant to be offensive or discriminatory, but is merely a result of biological urges. Its assumptions include natural mutual attraction between men and women, a stronger male sex drive, and men in the role of sex initiators. So from this theory, it is normal for men to attempt to harass women because it is just comes out naturally because of their biological framework, men as they are. So from this theory, so its assumptions include natural mutual attraction between men and women, a stronger male sex drive, male as a rule of sexual initiators. So a key strength of the natural biological perspective is that it acknowledges the innate human instincts potentially driving sexually aggressive behavior. So in this theory, yes, it occurs naturally in men, but I think it should not be an excuse for men to commit crime or sexually harass women because they can control it. Next, theoretical perspective is sex rule spillover theory. So this theory is based on the proposition of irrelevant gender-based rule expectations that individuals bring to the workplace in guiding their interactions with women. Men hold rule perceptions of women based on their traditional role in our culture. So usually it has happened in the workplace that women are being harassed by men. Men would look at themselves as higher than women, especially when it is a men-dominated workplace. They would look at themselves as more dominant than their female counterpart. Therefore, men are more likely to sexualize their experience, including work experience. Now, therefore, more likely to make sexually mark or engage in sexual behavior since they think that they are higher, they can do whatever they want. Third theoretical perspective is organizational theory. So proponents of this theory propose that one of the central concepts that helps explain sexual harassment is power. So this theory proposes that sexual harassment results from opportunities presented by power and authority relations which derive hierarchical structures of organizations. So since organization has hierarchical structure, so those in the higher position has a power. So sometimes these power can be abused. So especially the boss or the bosses when they abuse their power, like they do a favor to their employee in exchange of something. So like there will no promotion of you if you're not going to engage this or say yes to my favor. So that's what organizational theory means. So the second to the last theoretical perspective is the sociocultural theory. So this theory examines the wider social and political context in which sexual harassment is created and occurs. According to this perspective, sexual harassment is a logical consequence of the gender inequality and sexism that already exist in society, according to Gotek 1985 and Thomas and Kitzinger 1997. This theory asserts that women's lesser status in a larger society is reflected at the workplace structures and cultural, thus male dominance continues to be the rule. So it is because of gender inequality in our society where women are marginalized. Now they have lesser status in a largely male-dominated workplace. So sexual harassment is one manifestation of a much larger patriarchal, which male are more dominating entity. The perpetrator of sexual harassment have no regard for women as equal human being. Therefore, molesting women as a part and parcel of male ideal fun in the society. So this is what sociocultural theory. So this is what is happening. So the last theoretical perspective of sexual harassment is the feminist theory. According to the feminist perspective, sexual harassment is linked to the sexist male ideology of male dominance and male superiority in society. Therefore, feminist theories view sexual harassment as a product of a gender system maintained by dominant normative form of masculinity. Thus, sexual harassment exists because of the views of women as the inferior sex, but also sexual harassment serves to maintain the already existing gender stratification by emphasizing sex role expectations, according to Gotek 1985. So, according to the feminist theory, this is a byproduct of a gender system wherein male is considered as a dominant entity. Now, the sexual harassment exists because of the views of women as inferior sex, but also sexual harassment serves to maintain the already existing gender stratification. Stratification is division among gender by emphasizing sexual expectation, wherein for them, or for this theory, women is inferior. That's it.
Good day everyone. So now I will be discussing about the relevance of theoretical perspectives. An interpretation of these theoretical perspectives reveals that both biologically as well as socio-culturally men happen to have always occupied a dominant position over women in societies, of which the workplace are only a part. So, a theoretical perspective is a set of assumptions about reality that inform the question we ask and the kind of answer we arrive at as a result. In this sense, the theoretical perspective can be understood as a lens through which we look, serving to focus or destroy what we see. It can also be thought of as a frame which serves to both include and exclude certain things from our view. Considerably data have been accumulated confirming that harassment is widespread in both the public and private sectors, and it has significant consequences for the employees' health and psychological well-being. So workplace abuse, including sexual harassment, is frequently experienced worldwide, and it's related to adverse mental health outcomes and injuries. Workplace abuse and stress are related to poorer mental health, including sleep disorders, depression, anxiety, post-traumatic stress disorder, and symptoms, and psychological distress. This can be the case even for co-workers who are directly victimized. So sexual harassment of women at workplace constitute an extremely important kind of violence, which has been comprehensively defined for legal purposes. Since it is a recently defined offense, there is a need to identify appropriate theoretical frameworks to highlight the causes and precipitating factors for the existence of this problem. Therefore, the vulnerability of women as a weaker sex has traveled towards workplace and academia where it is considered natural and normal for men to be responding sexually towards women as colleagues, subordinates, and superiors. So, sexual harassment is a recurring problem around the globe. It is an action that is not favored, not accepted, and it is done without the consent of the receiver. An action that can be in the form of verbal, non-verbal, visual, or physical. And this, in simple term, it is a sexually oriented conduct that may endanger the victim's job, negatively affects the victim's job performance, and undermines the victim's personal dignity by creating a hostile work environment. So, to reduce the risk of sexual harassment, it is essential to first understand the nature of the problem and its causes. Generally, the perpetrators, it is hoped that an insight into background, thoughts, feelings, perceptions, and attitude would help understand why this phenomenon does exist. Thus, complex models, which focus on interaction of multiple factors, are needed to understand the concept of sexual harassment. To conclude, the ability to truly understand sexual harassment lies in understanding how different variables interact with one another to produce different types of sexual harassment at workplace.
It's really heartbreaking that this phenomenon, the sexual harassment, really happens in our society, and there are already a lot of victims of it. But the thing that we can do is to know that there are laws that can protect us here in our country. So the first law is the Republic Act number 7877, or the Anti-Sexual Harassment Act of 1995. So this is the governing law for work, education, or training sexual harassment. So those people who do this are those who are superior, like for example, the boss, the teachers, etc. So specifically in work-related or employment environment, sexual harassment is committed when the sexual favor is made as a condition in the hiring or in the employment, re-employment, or continued employment of the said individual, or in granting said individual favorable compensation, terms of conditions, promotions, or privileges, or the refusal to grant the sexual favor results in limiting, segregating, or classifying the employee which in any way would discriminate, deprive, or diminish employment opportunities or otherwise adversely affect said employee. So this happens in scenarios like, I will hire you if you'll do this for me, or I will fire you if dili nimo ni siya buhaton, or things like that. So the above acts would impair the employee's rights or privileges under existing labor laws, or the above acts would result in an intimidating, hostile, or offensive environment for the employee. Like for example, if the employee or the student is already experiencing like discomfort towards their boss because of these things, so this may be already sexual harassment. On the other hand, in an education or training environment, sexual harassment is committed against on who is under the care, custody, or supervision of the offender. As what I said earlier, like for example, if teacher ang offender, ano siya sa mga students. Against one whose education, training, apprenticeship, or tutorship is entrusted to the offender, and when the sexual favor is made a condition. So there's always this condition, like a request or a demand to do something, to the giving of a passing grade, na if hagmongonte ka, if dili ka musugot ani, granting honors and scholarships, or payments of a stipend, allowance or other benefits, privileges, or considerations, or when the sexual advances result again in an intimidating, hostile, or offensive environment for the student, trainee, or apprentice. So also those people who are the kasabwat can also be affected, or pwede sila makasuhan aning anti-sexual harassment act. So that's it for the RA number 7877.
So in my part, as a continuation of the report about the Republic Act number 787, I will also continue about the discussion of the Civil Service Commission number 010940. This is all about the administrative disciplinary rules on sexual harassment cases. Her sexual harassment can be committed at the following places. Number one is in the premises of the workplace or office of the school or training institution. Number two is in any place where the parties were found as a result of work or education or training responsibilities or relation. And then in number three, at work, education or training related to social functions. Number four, in while on official business outside the office or school or training institution, or during work, school, or training related travel. In number 5, at official conferences, fora, symposia, or training sessions. Or number 6, by telephone, cellular phone, or fax machine, or electronic mail. And then those following the following forms of sexual harassment are committed through number 1 is a physical, related on physical is malicious touching, and also second is overt sexual advances, and then third is gestures with lewd. So those three kinds of sexual harassment are committed is about touching. Is those are three gestures that we also kanang ginagamit nato nga ano kasagaran nga ato ma-observe or sa uban nga atong namatay kaila nga ano gagamit ana nga gestures. And then second is the verbal, such as but not limited to. So first is a request or demands for sexual favors, and second is lurid remarks, and third is use of objective pictures or graphics. So in the second sexual harassment is in verbal is there are some uses that we all have observed already, just like sometimes I observe in gay language. So they use ang uban is gagamit og gay language. So ganun, para ang uban dili makasabot, sila ang makasabot ganun. And then also the use of graphics pictures nadto. And then or rating or sexual and underpinnings. So in number 4 is other forms analogs to the foregoing. So that's it. Those who I have mentioned in the six categories of sexual harassment of committed the following places. This is the six disciplinary rules in sexual harassment cases that belong in Civil Service Commission number 010940. Thank you.
To sum it up, sexual harassment constitutes an extremely important kind of violence which has been existing and rampant in the Philippines and worldwide. This complex concept consists of several theories and are punishable by Philippine laws. So the Philippine laws on sexual harassment punishes work-related, training and education environment sexual harassment. It can happen everywhere. So the acts of sexual harassments are also punishable by law. So you must always remember that sometimes it is not a compliment. Sometimes it is harassment. And we are the group 1, and we hope you learned something. And thank you for watching.